Let's build strong and big trees, and let's cover tree generation. Alright, we found ourselves back in the channel once more, and in this tutorial we're going to be talking about tree generation. Now, number one, this is extremely important. We will be talking about how to generate the trees inside of the world using world generation. The data generation tutorial that came before this is a prerequisite. If you've not gone through this, you will have to go through this because you will need the mod world generator class, and then we can basically proceed after that. A second caveat here is that this particular tutorial is split into multiple parts. I will actually add some timestamps for this inside of the video because first of all, we're going to create all of the blocks and all of the craziness there. Then we're going to create the tree so that the tree spawns from the sapling. And then last but not least, we're actually going to spawn the tree on world generation. So let's start by creating the blocks. So in the mod blocks class, we're just going to go in here and we're going to make a public static final block, and we're going to call this the red_maple_log, and this is equal to register block. Once again, of course, red_maple_log in this case, comma, and then this is going to be a new pillar block. Very important. This is basically the way that the logs look like. And this is going to be a fabric block settings dot of. No, we're actually going to do copy this time. Copy, and we're going to copy of blocks.oglog, because why not? And we're going to just say strength 4.0 f, and also we will require a tool. This is going to go under mod item group.citrine. There we go, and that is beautiful. And now we need this 4 times, and then we need this an additional 2 times, and then we need this an additional 1 time. Okay, and now it is up for, well, renaming this. This is going to be wood. Make sure to always rename this inside of the name here as well, otherwise you're going to get an error. And then also change this, the copy of, to the specific one over here. It's not strictly necessary, but it's just kind of nice. Then we have the stripped one and the other stripped one. This is stripped red maple wood, and the other one is the stripped red maple log. Stripped red maple wood. Let's just copy this one, and this is going to be called wood. There we go. And then changing this here as well. This is the stripped oak log, and then this is the stripped oak wood. Beautiful, absolutely amazing. Now here we get the planks, interestingly enough. So this is the planks, so this is the red maple planks. And here as well, changing this to the oak planks to copy from. This is going to be the leaves, but don't leave just yet because that's not what we're looking for. We are going to do the leaves over here. What a horrible joke. Leaves, there we go. And then this is the sapling, which is actually going to be the one that is a little bit different. And there's actually 2 differences in that as well. So the planks are actually going to be a normal block in this case. There we go. And then this is actually going to be a leaves block. Perfect. Now this instead is going to be a sapling block, and it's going to throw an error because we actually need to put in a sapling generator. However, we don't have this yet. Absolutely no worries. We're going to be able to add this in just a moment. But those are actually all of the blocks. Now what I could do is I could, copy over all of the different resources, right? All of the assets and stuff like that. However, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy over the textures. So this is all of the block textures. And then we have one item texture, which would be the, no, actually not. The sapling is also in here. Perfect. That's all of the block textures. Just copied over. We do need the lang. Now we could also have done the data generation for the lang, but that's going to be fine. I feel like writing this out and just copying and changing the names here should be pretty much the same as doing it within a class. And now we can use the previously created data generator, well, to do all of our heavy lifting. So we're going to go in here, and we're just going to say block state model generator, and we're going to say the log. We want to register a log, and we say mod blocks.log. And now look at this, right? We're going to do the wood for this as well. And we're going to do the stripped log, and we're going to do stripped wood, and done. Bam. Over. We got it. This is already everything we need for those 4 blocks. Next one, we have a normal one because the plank is just a normal block. So this is just going to be mod blocks plank. And then leaves are, I actually think leaves are also absolutely normal because they are. They are the same thing. And then the only question is there also one for a sapling? There is nothing for a sapling. Well, what is a sapling? Well, that is a cross. So we should be able to do a tintable cross. I don't think that this is a tintable cross, but let's just do mod blocks.sapling and then give me a tint type of not tinted. Sure. I mean, absolutely. I've actually not tried this one before, so that's kind of weird, but I guess we'll see. Let's just put a null in here for a moment, And let's actually generate the data for this, because I would really like to see whether or not this is going to generate the proper data. But that should be pretty much all that we need here. All right, so something is wrong, and that is specifically in the sapling block. Well, it's probably, oh, because we're using the oak log. This is what I'm saying. You always got to change the blocks over here, otherwise stuff is not going to work. And this is the reason why, right? Of course, this was done on purpose, right? So now, but change this to oak sapling, and now we should have no error here, actually. And we will be able to see this should run through perfectly fine. There we go. So we got 9 new files. So let's actually take a look at the assets block states. So we got red maple leaves, planks, and sapling. Okay, and the blocks. Okay, so it did not generate the. Okay, it did not generate these ones. Probably because those actually, okay, they get me a log texture pool, while these ones also get me a log texture pool. Fascinating. Well, let's take a look at the sapling first. This is a correct block state JSON file for it, but how does the model look like? It actually looks exactly how I want it to. So that's perfect. So this is definitely correct. This one's fine. I'm just unsure why these don't work. So that one's a little bit of a weird one. Oh, I think I misunderstood how this works. So you do the log over here, and then you call .log with modblocks.log, so the normal log, and then you do wood, and you do modblocks.wood, and then you can just delete this one, and you do the same thing for the stripped variant. So you do the stripped one here, and the stripped one here, and the stripped one here. And now this should, in theory, generate this. So let's run the data again and see if the stripped variants or the logs actually generate as well. Okay, this looks much better. So we can see we get the, let's see, where is it? Red maple strip, and that is the red maple log, and that is absolutely correct. This is exactly what we need, and it also generates the horizontal and the non-horizontal one. Absolutely perfect. This should be exactly what is needed for the logs and all of the wood to basically generate. Those are all of the proper JSON files, and of course you can still also add the loot tables, the recipes, all of that jazz. We're not going to do this here. That should be trivial for you to do at this point. Doing it either with data generation or with, or by hand or with Misode, something like that, should be no worries at all. Now, there's a couple of other things that we need to do before we can actually go into the world generation, or to actually spawn the tree from the sapling first, and that is to get the leaves right and the sapling right. So for this, we want to do the block render layer map right here. We want to use this one, .instance. And then we would just put in a block here, and that's going to be modblocks.leaves, and then with a render layer .get cutout. And we want to do the same thing for the sapling over here. And this is just going to make sure that, because when we actually look at the sapling or the leaves, either one of them basically works fine. If we look at this, there are certain pixels in here that are actually not really occupied, right? They are transparent, and otherwise, if we don't put this to cutout, then those pixels will actually be white. And we don't want that. We want them to be see-through, and therefore we need to put this in here. Another thing you might want to do is make your blocks flammable. For this, you need to use the flammable block registry .get default instance, and then basically add blocks with this. Now, what I highly recommend you do is you actually make a custom class for this, and you just put them in there. So you can put this into the block class, for example. So this would be mod flammable block registry, something like this. And you're just going to make a public static void register flammable blocks. And this is going to have the flammable block registry equal to flammable block registry.get default instance, and then you can just say registry.add, and you can say modblocks.red maple planks, for example, which are going to burn for 5 and 20 in spread, and then we can just duplicate this and do it for all of them. So for example, the leaves are going to be actually a burn of 30 and a spread of 60, crazily enough, and then the logs are all going to be 5 and 5. So this is going to be log. This is going to be the stripped log, this is going to be the wood, and this is going to be the stripped wood, and they're going to be 5 and 5 all the way down. There we go. And now we just call this one in the tutorial mod class over here, instead of the onInitialize method, mod flammable block registry.register flammable blocks. Beautiful. And now the same thing goes for the strippability. In this case, I'm just going to put this like raw into the onInitialize method. You can also make a new class and do that, but that's going to be fine. This is going to be the strippable block registry.register, and we're going to put in the modblocks.red maple log and modblocks.stripped red maple log. There you go. And then the same thing for the wood as well. And that should be fine. And now our custom wood will actually function the exact same vanilla wood. Wood? Yes. Right, now we're going to go on to spawning the actual tree from the sapling. So let's create a new package in the tutorial mod package, and we're going to call this the world package. And then we are going to create a new package inside of here. That's going to be called tree. And this is basically going to be for our sapling generator. So let's create the red maple sapling generator. There we go. This will extend the sapling generator class, and we're just going to implement the get tree feature method. Now here, in this case, we don't have a registry key. Oh no. So what we'll actually need to do is we'll need to create this registry key. Now what we're going to do is we're first of all going back to the modblocks class and changing this null here to a new red maple sapling generator. Very important. And now we don't need to worry about this. We're going to keep this error here for the moment because we actually wanted to create the mod configured features first. So in the world package, right click, new Java class mod configured features. Here we go. And now this class is going to be absolutely insane. So bear with me for a moment because world generation 1.19.3, of course, there's lots of changes again, and they're pretty crazy. So for every configured feature, you now need a registry key. That is going to be totally fine. So we're just going to make a public static final registry key of type configured feature question mark comma question mark. This is going to be the red underscore maple underscore key. And this is equal to, and for this we need two helper methods actually. I'm going to copy both of them over. It is the register key method and the register method. The register key method we're going to call here, and we're going to call this the red underscore maple underscore tree. We'll actually just call this the red underscore maple, but that's going to be fine. And this is now our registry key that we can pass in right here. So we can say mod configured features.red maple key. And we're going to be fine. The sapling generator is done. Now, of course, how does the generator know what it's supposed to generate? Well, and that's exactly the thing. It doesn't. For this, we need to create the absolute abomination of a bootstrap method. Now, this is just the case because in 1.19.3, world generation has pretty much changed to be completely and utterly only JSON files. Now, this is in some ways really good and in some ways kind of annoying. But because we have our data generators, we can make a bootstrap method that is going to generate everything for us, and that makes it a lot easier. So we need a public static void, and we're going to call this bootstrap. This is going to have a registerable of type configured feature question mark. There we go. And it's called context. And then let's see what this crazy method has in store for us. So in theory, we need a bunch of things here, but right now we just want to spawn our red maple tree from the sapling. For this, I'm going to copy over the register method here that we're going to need, and I'm going to explain. So this is what we're going to need. You can see we're calling the register method down here. We're passing in the context parameter. Then we're passing in the key. We're then saying this is a tree feature. And then we have a new tree feature config. Now, this is the same config that we've seen plenty of times before in previous tutorial series. This is the same idea. We have a block state provider over here, which is going to be the log. That's the first block state provider. Then we have a straight trunk placer in this case. We can have different trunk placers. If we go here, press Control H, we can see there's many different trunk placers. Highly recommend playing around with this or taking a look at the vanilla configured feature class to take a look at how other trees basically are generated. Then we have a leaf block state provider, the blob foliage placer, which basically just says, okay, how are we going to place those trees? And then the two-layer feature is still an enigma wrapped inside of a mystery, and this just does stuff. Just play around with the numbers a little bit and you're going to be fine. And now this is going to register this tree feature to this particular key, which is of course referenced in the sapling generator. So when the sapling grows, the configured feature with this key is called, and that is the general idea. Now, how do we use this bootstrap method to do anything? Well, for this, we need to go into the mod world generator class, and this is why I said this is important that we have this mod world generator over here. And we're going to say entries.add all. And we're going to say registries.getWrapped or throw registry keys.configured feature. Okay, this is the first thing that we need to do. So now we've configured this. Go into the data generator over here, and we're going to say pack.add provider mod world generator : new. Let's make sure that this is written correctly. There we go. And then we need to do another thing, and we need to override the build registry method. We can delete this, and we can say registry builder.add registry. The registry keys dot configured feature mod configured features : bootstrap. And here we go. This is where the bootstrap method is called. And now the world generator is done because we've said, okay, we want to actually add the entry of configured feature. We have the bootstrap method with our context, and now this should actually generate the JSON file. So if we now run datagen, it's actually also going to generate a worldgen folder inside of our generated folder over here, and this is going to contain exactly this information in JSON file form. So you can see data tutorial mod worldgen configured features red maple JSON, and you can see it has exactly everything that we want. We have a dirt provider of dirt, that's just basically the default. We have a blob foliage placer with exactly our numbers that we've specified right here, and so on and so forth. It all gets generated automatically. If we have another tree, you can just copy this, have another key over here, and we're going to be totally fine. Now, for the sake of argument, let's actually take a look at this in-game. Let's spawn the tree from the sapling first, and then we will continue to also do, well, basically have this tree spawn on worldgen as well. Let's take a look. All right, so we find ourselves in Minecraft again, and let's just see. First of all, we can see everything has been added. So we have one issue here with the strip block, but that's just because the texture is not named correctly, I'm pretty sure. But that should be fine. We can rename this in just a moment. And we have the sapling, and let's get some bone meal here as well. Now we should be able to set this down, and we should be able to grow this, and let's go! We got a tree that grows strong and big. Now what you'll find is that the leaves are decaying immediately. We can fix this very, very easily and very quickly, but for the time being, we have the tree set up correctly, and that's honestly already really, really cool progress. Let's continue along and see, first of all, how to fix the leaves, and then second of all, how to actually get this thing to spawn in the world. All right, how to fix the leaves issue? Well, we want to go down to data, Minecraft, tags, blocks, and inside there we want to make a new file called logs.json. This is a normal tag, so we can just do this and basically say tutorial mod red underscore maple underscore log, and then just duplicate this to get the wood here as well. Let's not forget the commas though. And that this is the log, this is the wood, and then this is the stripped variant here as well, stripped underscore log and stripped underscore wood. If they spawn next to either of these blocks, they're not going to disappear anymore. So that's pretty awesome. Let's then continue. How do we get our tree to spawn in the world? Well, for this, we actually need not configured features, but placed features, because placed features are what are going to be placed inside of the world. For this, in the world package, we're going to right-click new Java class called mod placed features. And this class is going to look eerily similar to the mod configured features because, well, it also has a registry key, but this time we're just going to copy this because this time it's not going to be for a configured feature, but a placed feature. And this actually has no question marks here. We will, however, need the two helper methods, and I'm going to copy those over again. And once again, of course, all of the code is available to you. No worries at all. There's actually going to be 3 of those. There you go. The register key, there you go. And that should be that. Now we also need a public static void bootstrap method, once again with a registerable of type place feature this time, with context. There we go. And this is going to be the bootstrap method that we will need. Now this place feature is actually going to be called red maple placed, because that's usually how I would like to call my place features, and this is then red maple placed. There we go. That should be pretty much what we need here. Now what we're going to need here is actually something crazy, and that is going to be the a variable of configured feature registry entry lookup. Now the reason why we have this is so that we can actually take a look at our configured features, because we need to use the red maple key over here instead of our place feature, because this is how our tree is going to spawn. And we get this by using context.getRegistryLookup registry keys dot configure feature. And now we can actually take a look with this craziness. We can get the red maple key configured feature as well. Now we need this only for one thing, and that is the register of the context. Now this is going to be the red maple placed key. We want to put in the configured feature registry lookup get or throw mod configured features dot red maple key. Now the way we're going to build this is the following. It's actually not that crazy. We're going to say placed features dot create count with extra. This is going to be 1, and then there's a 10% chance of adding 2 more trees. And then the second one is modifiersWithWouldSurvive, and here we're going to say modblocks.redMapleSapling. Now, here are two very important things. Number one, this controls how many trees are spawning. There's going to be one tree spawning, and then there's a 10% chance of two extra trees spawning. Now, this extra chance is insanely weird. If we go into this, you can see we're taking this extra chance, and we're saying 1 divided by this extra chance. That has to be an integer. Otherwise, you will get this crazy thing. So basically, right, what I'm saying is that if we do 1 divided by 0.1, we get 10. That is totally fine. This works. If we put in 0.2, also works. That's 5. If we were to put in 0.3, this would not work. So if you put in 0.3 here, you will get an error. I don't know why this is the case. It is the strangest thing I've seen in a long time, and I can't tell you why, but if you divide 1 by this number, it has to be an integer. So basically, you can only put in 1, 0.1, 0.2, 0.25, I'm pretty sure should also work for 4, and so on and so forth. And that's it. So please do keep that in mind if you want to use the create count extra here. Otherwise, you can always go into the placed feature. You can always go into the placed features class, into the tree placed features, I'm pretty sure. And you can take a look at what they're doing with their placement modifiers. Now, the other one, which is the would survive over here, this is extremely important because this one you need so that the tree just doesn't spawn inside of other trees. So otherwise they would like spawn at top of other trees. So basically we want to place our tree only where the red sapling could also survive, meaning only on dirt or grass. Now let's make sure to use the bootstrap method inside of right here, tutorial mod generator, so we could duplicate this and say place feature. And this is now the mod placed features bootstrap. And also very important, in the mod world generator, we need to also add the place features right here. And once we've done this, now we are done. We have the bootstrap method, and we have this. Now we just need to spawn this. So while we now have, if we were to run the data gen over here, because why not? Let's just do this. We're going to have a place feature. It doesn't yet spawn the world, but we have the place feature. Now we can spawn it, and that is absolutely awesome. So there we go. We have the place feature. This is the red maple place. As you can see, it's a weighted list. This is so we have a bunch of stuff would survive on red maple sapling. This is exactly what we need. And this is the count. So this is basically how much it spawns, generally speaking. And to get this to spawn in the world package, we're going to make a new package called gen. And then inside of there, we're going to make the mod tree generation. And we will also make another class, and this is going to be the mod world generation. Let's start with the mod tree generation. This is going to be very, very straightforward. Public static void generate trees. This is going to call biome modifications. Very important, you'd use the one with the S. Add feature biome selectors. With this, you can select the biome. So biome selectors dot, and then you can see we can say all biomes. We can exclude by certain keys. We can say everything that's found in the overworld. So you can basically just say, hey, you know, these particular ones. So we can, for example, say include by keys, and then we can say biome keys dot, and then we can say, for example, plains. Now this is only going to spawn in the plains biome. That's pretty cool. And we should be able to expand this as well. So we can say another biome keys dot, and then say, for example, how about the forest? So let's add this to the plains and the forest biomes. Interesting. We're going to use this in generation step. And we can see this is the feature for vegetal decoration. Important that we get the right one. And then the last parameter here is mod place features dot red maple placed key. So here we're passing in the registry key of the place feature, and there we go. Now we want to call this in the mod world generation class. Make a new method, public static void generate mod world gen, and we're just going to say mod tree generation dot generate trees, and this method over here is going to be called in the tutorial mod class. Now the reason I have it set up like this is because when we add the or generation, I actually want to call this here as well, and then everything is just going to be a little bit easier and nicer to be done like this. And then we can call this, I am unsure whether or not it should be before or after. Let's just use it, put it here. That should hopefully be fine. If there's an issue, then we're going to be able to see this. And I've also changed the name of the block texture over here. It just had the logo missing. So it was just called stripped red maple top, but it looking for log top. So that's going to be fine. So before we try this, I actually have to jump in here for just a moment, and there is actually one tiny thing that we need to change in the register method over here in the bootstrap of the mod placed features, and that is, instead of just having the create count and the would survive here, we actually just want to take vegetation placed feature dot modifiers with would survive, passing in the create count extra modifier as the first parameter, and then passing in the red maple sapling as the second parameter. And that is going to actually make it so that it spawns. It's going to generate a different place feature over here, because these ones, we didn't have those before, and they actually, if we don't have them, they actually prevent the tree from spawning. So do keep that in mind, and now we can continue and see if it works. But I can assure you, it actually will. Alright, found ourselves in Minecraft, and as you can see, we are inside of a plains biome right now, and we have our trees spawning exactly how we would expect them to. So you can see this is basically, well, those are the numbers, right, as we put them. So this would be one count of 1 and a 10% chance of 2 others spawning. So I highly recommend playing around with those numbers, of course, and that's going to, well, of course, alter the result in this case. But they are spawning, and that is absolutely awesome, and that's how easy it is to add some tree generation to Minecraft. Right, and we are finally at the end of the road to creating trees and tree generation in 1.19.3 for Fabric. Quite the involved process, but we're finally here, and now everything should be working totally fine. Next time, we're going to be taking a look at ore generation, but for the time being, hopefully this was useful to you and you learned something new, and I'll see you all next time. So, yeah.